Hey everybody, this is Suzette Speaks. I want to thank you so much for watching. I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Nicole, Nikki Fried, and I brought her on because we don't really see a lot of female politicians, and female politicians that are running for a statewide office, and she happens to be the nominee for the Democrats for the Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services, which is a pretty big deal. So I'm so glad she took a beautiful Saturday morning to come and talk with me. We're here on Las Olas. If you know downtown Fort Lauderdale, we're not too far from the Stranahan house. We're actually right behind us is the New River, and this is where like the hip people, I guess, are. And we just want to take some time to get to know Nikki, find out where she stands on the issues, and find out like how'd you get on this journey into politics. So welcome, Nikki, again. Full disclosure, I know Nikki. We're both attorneys here in Fort Lauderdale, so introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me this morning. As Suzette said, I am an attorney, grew up in Miami. I have a younger sister, and my parents, everybody lives now in Palm Beach County, but grew up in Miami. Then I went to University of Florida for undergrad, master's in law. Go Gators.
Okay, we had to get that on there. All right, sorry.
And then now I've been practicing law for 15 years. Part of it was up in Jacksonville, then at the Public Defender's Office back in Alachua County, and then came back down here in South Florida, taking on the big banks during the foreclosure crisis. And last 7 years, been working in Tallahassee back and forth. I'm down here in South Florida, representing public school education and public kids, and foster care children in Tallahassee, as well as the expansion of medical marijuana in the state of Florida.
I love it. So she said a mouthful, and I want you to get to know Nikki because, like I said, I've known her on a personal level for over 15 years. So I'm not gonna say how many years. Sorry, our beauty cream is still working. Thank you. But I really want you to kind of peel back the onion on what the Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services does in Florida. We have 4 top people in Florida. We have the governor, we have the Attorney General, we have the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, and then we have the Commissioner of Agriculture, and they make up what's called the cabinet. So this office doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's super huge. It has a lot of responsibility. So Nikki, tell us in a nutshell, there's a lot that this office does, but tell us in a nutshell what this office does.
And you're right, Suzette. You know, the reality is that this is one of our 4 cabinet positions, and most people don't even know it's an elected position. They only know it because they see the name on the gas station pump, or they maybe see the sign sometime in their food stores on the scales. But it oversees all of our agriculture, which is our number 2 economic driver in our state, but also is all of our environmental policies, our water policies, our energy policies, all of our consumer services in the entire state. So that is your fraud at the gas station pumps, your pump skimmers, your do not call list, your IRS scammers, your fitness centers, your auto repair shops. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then it's also where the concealed weapons permitting process is also housed. And that also goes with not just getting the process and getting your permit, but also all of your security guards, all of your hunting licenses, all is underneath this one tremendous position.
So I say, like, people didn't know what to do with all these different regulations as far as guns and what you eat at the store and how you buy it and who sells it to you and making sure they're fair to you. Everything that you can think of that has to do with the consumer buying or selling, especially with food, but other products and services, falls underneath this office. So it's a huge responsibility. And I was reading that there are 3,600 employees alone, which is kind of crazy, that you'll oversee. So a lot of those people do what?
A lot of those people are your inspectors, the people that go into the food stores, the people that are going out to the farms, the people that are going and testing the waters. So there's a people, and then we have an entire legal department, an entire Fish and Wildlife Services is there as well. So basically they have all the people that are going out across the state to making sure that the consumer is protected, that the farmers are in agriculture are complying with all of their standards, and making sure that all these huge responsibilities are actually being taken care of.
Wow, so a lot of inspectors, a lot of people, and a lot of moving parts. So one thing I want to say, usually the Commissioner of Agriculture does not come from South Florida. Imagine, and it's usually not a woman, just keep it real, and you are both. So usually when we see these people advertised, it's usually a man that comes from a farm family, and hey, there's a cute guy with like babies walking by. Hi guys! Yes, we are outside in South Florida. How are you? So you know it's live. But so yeah, as I was saying, you don't fit the profile. What do you have to say where there are people that might doubt that a woman can do this job, and that someone who doesn't come from like a traditional farming family or have a background in that kind of traditional way in agriculture should be more suited for this position?
You know, I think that you nailed it on the head earlier, is that this is such a huge responsibility. And so the cabinet position officer is somebody who has to have leadership skills, somebody who can manage this huge department. And so the role of the commissioner is twofold. One, to actually be the face of the industry, the face of the state of Florida. That means, the fresh from Florida produce. I mean, that is being the face of it.
Yeah.
Huge. And then being the regulator. And so what I bring to the table is a new perspective. We have had status quo for generations on this position. And status quo has not been what's best for the state of Florida. That we need people and new leadership to take the ball forward, say there is new innovation, new technology. And I come that with these new ideas and problem solving. So we have a citrus problem. How do we solve it? It's not just continuing to put bad money after bad money into it, but where do we find new technology, giving our farmers these options of different ways to grow the produce, and then coming up with alternative crops in the meanwhile. So somebody like me who's got a background that's as diverse as it is, I come with a new ideas, a new perspective, and in my 15-year practicing of law, we're sworn to take care of the public. That is our job as attorneys.
Absolutely.
And so we do that, and that's what I'll be doing as Commissioner of Agriculture. And what I've said to our traditional agriculture community is that, listen, there's nothing about me that says I'm coming from traditional agriculture. I mean, I did ride horses when I was growing up.
Okay, that calls
and I did grow up in Miami, so I spent a lot of time in Homestead. There's nothing about me that says I'm coming from traditional agriculture. However, I'm a sponge. I'm somebody who likes to learn. I like to take things in, and that's what I've been offering and asking to our community, is saying, teach me everything there is to know, and I can promise you that for everything I've ever done in my entire life, I've been an advocate. I've been somebody who takes an idea, takes something, and runs with it, and I would do the same thing with the agriculture community, is say, I'm not coming from it, but I'm going to fight like I was.
Fighter, I love it, I love it. So there is a couple of hot button issues I really want to make sure we touch on, and of course, leave your comments. Please like and share this video. If you don't know Nikki, again, visit her website, NikkiFried.com. And I want to get into a couple of hot button issues. Medical marijuana. Ooh, I said it. Oh no, that wasn't me smoking, but that was just, like I said, we hear a lot about it. In Florida, we had a statewide vote a couple years ago where voters actually approved the use, but then the state lawmakers, the legislature came back and kind of like narrowed that use down yet again. So I want people to know where you stand on medical marijuana and hopefully allowing, that's my opinion, more people to use it.
Yeah, and that's why I decided to run. It is because, I have been an advocate of this for years now, and seeing how Tallahassee is broken, and seeing that something like this, that 72% of our state has voted for, and even when, the Amendment 1 came years ago for taking money for the environment, that was also destroyed. And seeing that how Tallahassee is broken and not implementing the will of the citizens.
So basically, let me break that down. So we have these statewide referendums, initiatives, that voters have to sign petitions to get them on your ballot. Then they get on the ballot, and the majority of people, I think it's 60%, has to vote and approve it. And then once they're approved, then they're going to the state constitution. So twice now, Florida voters have both on restoration of the Everglades, as well as medical marijuana usage in a broad way, has approved it, and they've been entered into the Constitution of the state of Florida. However, what happens is our state lawmakers kind of go around the process and then create all these regulations that stop the will of the people, in my opinion, from being able to be fully implemented. They put all these rules and there's regulations around it, and then it goes back to like 10 people can do what we as a people, a state of Florida, all the voters just approve. So how do we get back the people's will in terms of like medical marijuana?
Well, you have to change leadership. I mean, that you have to vote for people into office who are actually going to be public servants. We run for office to serve the public. And when people get to Tallahassee, they lose that. Yeah. And so that's why I wanted to run, because I saw firsthand with something like medical marijuana, who I know, if implemented properly, would save and change people's lives. I mean, we see this across the country, that when you have a full implementation, that there's a decrease of 20 to 25% of opiates overdoses. And we have an opiate problem here in our state, and we have a solution. Yet the lawmakers in Tallahassee are not listening to the will. And so I felt this was something that I felt so strongly in, and not just on the opiates. It's reduction of people who use pharmaceutical drugs and really changing people's lives. And I really see that this is something that we need to be pushing forward. And so putting somebody like me in Tallahassee, who understands, who has the first count experience with people all across the country, or sharing stories. Ever since I've been on the ballot and putting myself out there, I'm getting emails and Twitter comments and Facebook posts of people who are sharing their stories with me of how medical marijuana has saved and changed their life.
Wow.
And it gives me the additional drive in the fight to say I am doing the right thing because I am impacting and affecting people in their lives and the people around them, their caregivers, the people that they care about. This is such an important issue. The fact that our legislators have circled around and circumvented this will is just
crazy.
It's crazy.
All right, well, watch what they're doing in Tallahassee, guys. This is why you got to keep up with politics. So if you support the usage of medical marijuana, obviously this is your gal. So that kind of got you in trouble. Let's talk a little controversy because this is Facebook Live. Shout out to the people watching again. Leave your comments, please like and share. So Nikki Fried again is running for Florida Commissioner of Agriculture. The vote is November 6th. Don't forget that. So one thing that came up with you in the news, because we got to talk about what's really happening behind the curtain, is that there was a certain bank, to be left named.
Well, there's actually now two banks.
Two banks, I saw that.
Two banks.
That have closed down her campaign accounts because she has received donations from people who are in the medical marijuana industry. So literally, all these people have given you money to say, yes, run, Nikki, run, we support you. Here's to your commercials and here's to your ads. And then the banks say, wait, we don't want that money in our bank. Oh, we're going to close your account. That was like a huge deal.
It was tremendous. And, it started off with, it wasn't even just about the money I was receiving. It was the fact that they put out that it was my platform of expansion of medical marijuana. So they were trying to stop my voice.
Because you support medical marijuana?
Yes. That's what the first initial request was we saw that your platform is about medical marijuana, and then it was and are you taking dollars from the industry? And so both.
So they were trying to stifle your voice. That's not right.
Not right at all.
Wow. So what happened? So they literally closed your account and send back all the money to people?
Yeah. Well, no. They said you've got 30 days to transfer the money, and so we did that, and we transferred it to another bank, and that bank a couple weeks later said the same thing, almost verbatim. And they gave us 5 days to change our account. And so we have a new account, so those who want to send money,
we're good now.
We're good.
We're good now.
We're good until the next one. But but what this did was, for me, I'm just one individual, and it definitely brought light to the issue on the campaign trail. But what this did was brought national and international attention to this, and said we have to change our national banking laws. We have to get up to DC and
federal and state got to get on the same page.
Got to get on the same page.
The will of the states, I forget how many states now have approved medical marijuana,
30
but
states.
the feds still call it an illegal drug.
Yep.
So it's kind of very weird. I don't know. We need to come to some kind of agreement, I think. And I'm glad that you still remain very vocal about it and not gonna let these people pressure you.
They obviously didn't know me.
Yeah. So I love this. So also, aside from medical marijuana, really something that hits home right here in South Florida. We're not too far. We're a few miles from where the Parkland shooting took place, and I want to obviously my heart is continuously with the survivors of Stoneman Douglas High School and the Eagles and that whole family that had to go through that horrific event. And one of the things that kind of have spawned some controversy from the Office of the Commissioner of Agriculture is the concealed weapons license permitting, right? In Florida, you can carry a concealed weapon. You just need to get a background check and then get a license. But there was a whole to-do with the last commissioner who basically, because of some kind of bureaucratic, the computer wasn't working foolishness, didn't do background checks on a lot of people. And that came out of this office. So I want to know where you stand when it comes to concealed licensing, permitting, and making sure the right people are allowed to have guns.
Yeah, and so you're right. It's for 13 months, one individual forgot her login to the FBI database and didn't for 13 months do background checks. And so people were pushed through. And what has come of that is a couple of things. One, it tells me that there is a culture and a climate inside that office that said that that's not important. Because if every employee understood how essential it was, we are the safety mechanism and the stopgap for protecting our citizens, that if they can't rely that their elected officials and the people that are working for them aren't protecting them and doing these background checks, they lose faith in government. And now what you're doing is you're allowing individuals who could have been dangerous to have these permits and be able to carry a weapon on them. And so for 13 months, this didn't happen. And we also saw time and time again that came from the office is the involvement of the NRA. It is that we saw that the NRA...
The influence on this regulating body that's supposed to stand up for the people of Florida is being told by the NRA what to do.
Yep. And so what they did was they pushed, saying we need to get these permits done as fast as possible. So there was a lot of pressure inside of the office to quickly and expeditiously push these concealed weapons permits through. And we even saw that came out in the news yesterday, Marion Hammer, who's the lead lobbyist for the NRA, has basically had some extreme influence in the policy making and the oversight of that office. And we saw a release of over 300 emails where she had direct access and influence over staff and employees and higher ups and executives in that office.
That's great.
And so my personal opinion is, one, you do your job.
Right.
We are elected to make sure that the background checks are done. And so my first job is to make sure that we are doing our job. And yes, we have a right to have a permit, but you need to make sure that it's done in a way that we're protecting the society. And that is getting the permits done and making sure the background checks are complete. And until which time that your background check is complete, you do not have access to your weapons permits.
So I'm going to be clear, and I think you said it, but you're not anti-Second Amendment, because I've seen that written about you, and I'm kind of like, come on, people. Why do people want to draw these conclusions? You're not anti-Second Amendment. You don't want to take away people's guns. However, you do want to make sure the correct background checks are done so people who should have guns are permitted to have guns.
Suzette, you and I are practicing attorneys. So we had to go to law school. We had to study the law. We had constitutional law. I had even Florida con law by Joe Little as my con law professor. And then we had to take the bar, and then we are sworn in officers of the court. So protecting our Constitution is what we are sworn to do. So of course I support the Second Amendment. But I want to make sure that we are not putting to jeopardy our citizens. The background checks are done for the permitting process, and that is in law. All I am doing is actually following the law and doing my job.
Yeah. I love it. Listen, it's getting hot out here on the riverfront, so I'm not going to keep Nikki too much longer. I'm just going to look at the comments. Thank you, Carrie Ann Walker, for watching. Thank you, Karen Vaughn, Carol Royce, Valerie, Natasha Wright. What's up, Daryl Pitts? I'm so glad you guys are watching, and I want to make sure, like I said, this is not about an endorsement. This is more so that you get to know behind the curtain what the person is like. I think a lot of times we see people and we see their names and we have no idea who the person is. So I really want to thank Nikki for agreeing to come out. Are there any final little messages that you want to leave? Not little, but any message that you want to leave with folks about who Nikki Fried is and what you'll do on behalf of the citizens of Florida if elected in November?
Sure. I'm not running for this position to be something. I'm running for this office to do something, and that's to make a difference and to make an impact. And I'm not doing it just for the Democrats. While I'm so grateful for the support that I've received from the party in the primary, my job is to represent the entire state of Florida. So I don't care if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, you're an NPA. I want you to know that I'm here for you and making sure that the right policies are put forward. I don't care if they're coming from which side of the aisle. I want to make sure policies are put in place because I'm being elected for you, not for special interest, but my job, what comes first and foremost, is the people come first.
Love it. And like I said, I mentioned this, but this has nothing to do with her gender, but if elected, she will be the first ever woman elected to the cabinet position of the Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services. So keep that in mind. Last question. The Commissioner of Agriculture, I can't say it, and the other cabinet members are in charge of clemency.
Yes, ma'am.
And what that means is when a person has served their time and they've lost their right to vote after committing a crime, they go before this board, and this board, made up of the governor, the CFO, the Attorney General, and Commissioner of Agriculture, mouthful, will have the right to vote to restore their rights. Now, under the Rick Scott administration, the numbers of people who have been approved to get their rights restored during the clemency process has gone down tremendously as compared to the administration before. So what is your view in terms of restoration of rights?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm God willing, Amendment 4 passes. But we also be mindful, as like we talked about earlier, that even if Amendment 4 passes, it's still going to be up to the state legislature to implement.
Right.
And we see how the legislature has done an implementation of amendments.
So you always got to educate. So Amendment 4 will be on the ballot this November in the state of Florida, which will restore the rights of convicted felons to be able to vote.
Right.
So that is vote yes.
Yes.
It will restore the rights of convicted felons. So you're saying that even though that will pass, hopefully.
Let's hope it passes.
I'm sorry. Speaking that into existence. Hopefully will pass. The state legislature still can write laws to limit it yet again. So based on your role on the clemency board and the cabinet, how do you hope to have an impact on restoration of rights?
You know, as a past public defender, I saw firsthand the injustice in the criminal justice system. And so there would be a huge advocate on the clemency board and on that to make sure that you've served your time, you're back in society, it is time to bring you back in. And that is restoring of people's rights. You've served your time, you've served your sentence, it's time to call you back into society. So you will have a huge advocate for that restoration of rights because it costs us hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year to not restore individuals' rights. So we are not only hurting the individual, we're hurting the taxpayer, and again, people have served their time to move on.
All right, Nikki Fried. All right, Nikki Fried. Can you hear the advocate? Can you hear the attorney? Yes. So where can people find out more information about you or get in contact with you?
Sure, you can go, first of all, I've got Twitter handles, I've got my Facebook, Instagram, but my website too is NikkiFried.com. That's just simple, NikkiFried.com. If you call me Nikki Fried, I'm okay with that too.
We love it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, this is Suzette Speaks along with Nikki Fried. Have a wonderful day. Leave your comments and share.